Okay, I'm going to share with you guys what's been going on and what I know to be true because I have evidence and witnesses, plenty of paperwork. I have plenty of information. I don't need to prove my case in court, by the way. I know, because I actually have verified information. I actually have police reports, and I actually have legitimate accounts from victims themselves. Most victims who go looking for assistance and help, if they have to literally go all the way up here to Burlington just to go to Alamance County, talk to the Alamance Police Department, and they do a transport to help a victim, only to have the victim, another victim's family, take another victim to Sheets. I need to know what's going on in the shelter programs. Why there's drugs in those programs, why the kids were assaulted and upset the whole time, left in freezing temperatures. So I'm going to ask the questions of the advocates. I want to know what kind of agenda you women are pushing in these shelters. We got several assault victims. We have several rape victims in the shelters that are supposed to be helping the homeless and rape victims. Those are crime assistance cases in Pennsylvania. We have already reported over to the state attorney general's office because these victims were raped in a women's shelter, assaulted in a women's shelter by drug addicts. And these other victims are bringing their abusers on properties like Lawrence County Women's Shelter, another shelter, Voice Shelter. You all are assaulting victims and leaving them on the street. And we have also reported back to the representative's office. And also, we didn't get a subpoena. We were supposed to attend to a hearing. We could not go to court. The representative's Harkin's office at the same time, Rose, a girl at one of the Erie County Women's Shelters, Erie County Shelter, had died. She's a U.S. soldier's fiancé. The soldier, the fiancé, he has a case against the shelters. They assault these victims in the women's shelters. We reported back to representative's office, and we're asking the right questions. We're asking why it is that we came up here from North Carolina only to find out that these girls were raped and assaulted. And number two, why are the abusers on their property? And why are they attacking these victims? Because they better have a real cause, because you guys can file a case on harassment and assault. This is harassment. For years of harassment, I have report after report of assistance we have received from the state of Pennsylvania. And we have had money stolen out of our bank card. So they got to know there's accountability on every level. If you're taking money out of somebody else's bank card, and I have other girls coming to me after the fact, they should. What people need to do is tell us before it gets to that point. We're not driving my vehicle and then turn around and telling somebody about my private area in a women's shelter. Okay, ladies, when you girls are in a jail cell, that's different. This is a women's shelter program. If you were in jail and you were having a same-sex relationship, they have to describe what kind of relationship they have with these children and these girls. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not in a same-sex relationship, number one. Number two, I do not want to be forced against my will to do something I don't want to do. And number three, some of you need to address your own personal matters. When it comes to same-sex attraction, you need to leave us out of it. Thank you. If you have a same-sex attraction, that's your problem. I'm attracted to a male. I'm not attracted to these individuals. I'm going to share with you why. When somebody sexually abuses somebody in a relationship or dating, they got bigger problems than dating. That's called dating violence. We're coming upon Unity Monday, and we're going to talk about what's going to go on Main Street. There's a cry for help, and we are listening. You might be a voice in the wilderness, and some of you have been assaulted and ran for your lives in the wooded areas. Your cry is being heard. That cry, as long as you scream loud enough, you're going to be heard. Because when people are running for their lives, and you can look at the case of children assault cases going from Pennsylvania to Virginia, down to North Carolina, down to Florida. If they can't take these victims' cases seriously, and they have a backlog, and the state house has to explain why are these rape cases in Allegheny County backlogged 5 years. Explain it. Explain why these people were reelected and there isn't term limits. None of those people deserve to be sitting in those locations. If they're not going to win their cases, then I need to know when they're going to get promoted, because I'm going to tell you the case on constructive discharge. I'm going to tell you also that these individuals, you go down to this story that you hear about, the story about Pizzagate. They call it a conspiracy. Well, I'll be honest with you. When I go to CNN, the Hunt Club, and we talk about trophies, we saw images on YouTube, all over Facebook, about trophy pieces. Do you know what those trophy pieces were? Go back to the story in the Bible about how they beheaded and had a trophy. We're going to talk to you about what King David, what happened to Goliath. You need to know the story about King David to understand Goliath. Why they actually have gone and killed people and raped and murdered. They would have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. And that is exactly the case. When we're talking about rape sodomy cases, they go down to South Carolina on into Charlotte. The Bowson case, the mayor of Charlotte, Mecklenburg. She used her political position because she could. You know why? Do you know where the accountability is? A mayor's office is pushing a different agenda. Then you go up to New York, and then you see that they put the Arch of Baal. It was just like the time of King Herod. That they had an order to kill all these children under 2. No different than the days of Noah. No different than the Greco-Roman period. Actually, the story is very biblically and it's very true. The Arch of Baal, about this time of year, right about this time of year, there is an increase of missing children. And we can show a trend because of, they make sacrifices, right? And they talk about the red heifer right now in Israel. And this is the return of this period. When you talk about biblical times, when we talk about the story of what's going on in areas like Charlotte, North Carolina, where they were trying to introduce legislation to legalize basically homosexuals to go in to your bathrooms and possibly rape and assault your family and children. They could dress up. They could dress up and rape your children. This is criminal. This is called criminal intent. What they're doing in Charlotte and what they do in states in Pennsylvania, on to Kentucky, because we've been to Kentucky too, at the Kim Davis trial, that they have an intention to do something that I think is not only dangerous, but actually violent and fearful. And these families are screaming out for help. And they're saying to you guys the same thing. In Charlotte, if that happens in Charlotte, that can happen in Pennsylvania, that can happen in North Carolina, it can happen in Charlotte, North Carolina, it can happen in Ohio. And what we're seeing is an increase of drugs trafficking in East Liverpool, and you see what's coming in from the border on the north. And that whole border on the north is surrounded by the same issue that happened in Arizona. It's called Operation Fast and Furious. Do your homework, find out about your country, and get serious. Wake up, sheeple, because you do not want to be a sheep asleep at the wheel. When we talk about the Good Shepherd, the Lord said, the Lord spoke about gathering his sheep and protecting his sheep. That if one of your children or one of your little children need help, there's help out there. Pray for your families. Log on to Jim Baker Show. They talk about this stuff all the time. Thank you for listening.